Please welcome the philosopher of our comedy scene. Please welcome the wonderful Socrates. Socrates has been in the bloody wars, folks. He'll tell you all about it. Is that cool?
That's fine. Hey, everybody, give it up for Ken.
Good recovery.
Yeah, who's missing 2022? Yeah. One person. I'm not. Yeah, I've been living here since 2009, and Dutch is a difficult language to learn. Ken's a great teacher if you need a teacher. He's a safe one, too.
That's me fucked.
But back in March, I was forced to learn a word I didn't want to learn, but life teaches you. And take an opportunity when you got the chance. And the word, unfortunately, was aangereden, which, if you don't know, means to be slammed into. And in my case, ik ben aangereden door een scooterklootzak, which means I got ran into by an asshole on a scooter. And long bit short, ended up breaking my arm, had a head-on collision, and I flew through the air like a gymnast, spinning and flipping, but it did not stick the landing. I kind of got stuck by it, and so they did a little choppy on my arm. Eventually, I got to go to the hospital, where they first started with what they call conservative treatment, which, if you don't know, means they did nothing. It's Dutch efficiency, because it was financially efficient. It's like German efficiency. They would have fixed me and sent me back to work. But the Dutch are not the Germans, you know. They're similar in a lot of ways. But the biggest difference between the Dutch and the Germans is the Dutch are absolutely not German. Other than that, I mean, I flew Lufthansa. I could understand a lot of what they were saying. It's that's pretty close. It's like, who do you blame the Anne Frank situation on? I'm just saying, I'm American, we got our own problems. But in the hospital, they gave me the blue strap. Have you ever heard an arm here? They give you this blue strap with Velcro. That's it. That was it. It was really cheap, you know. And they told me that it comes good. The most useless advice. And they love to tell you this. Therapists will tell you this. They'll all tell you this. It comes good. It's encouraging. It's free. Buys you a little time. It's not good medical advice. You know, it comes good, I think, is most useful if you're like looking through Yelp reviews for a sperm donor. Anyway, time passes, and I'm home trying to keep my arm mobile. They told me I have to keep exercising my shoulder, and so I'm standing in my yard, you know, keeping my arm flexible, waving to my neighbors. And I start getting a really bad vibe. It turns out they thought I was a Nazi. I tried to explain to them what's happening, you know. Now they think I'm practicing to be a Nazi. It's not at all better. So I said to the doctor, I said, you know, it's not coming good here. I mean, I have arm erectile dysfunction, and the first step to coming good is getting it up. And literally, that's it. I'm not getting a second date on this one. So he said, Helaas and Pindakaas, which, if you don't know, is a useless Dutch saying that means, oh well, peanut butter. It's less useful as a medical diagnosis. It does rhyme, okay? I admit that. It rhymes. And the Dutch love a good rhyme. The one I don't quite get is noken into koken, which, if you don't know, first of all, it does rhyme. It sounds great, doesn't it? Noken into koken. And if you don't know what it means, it sounds even cooler. It's fun. Because what it means is fucking in the kitchen. This is a Dutch saying. I was here less than 3 months and they taught me this thing. I don't know how to use Noken and the Koken in context. I mean, I get Helas Pindakas. I've experienced Helas Pindakas. But I don't think I've done Noken and the Koken, other than those few times in my life when I was doing it literally. But I think if you combine those two things, Helas Pindakas and Noken and the Koken, that's how they came up with satay sauce. Which is, is it Dutch? I don't know. It's a strange, it's like peanut butter and chicken having sex, and they call it food. Dutch food. Anyway, so they finally did surgery on me in November, and they figured they'd compensate for the lack of, medical procedure. And so they took bone out of some dead guy and stuck it in here, and they took bone out of my leg and some marrow and stuck it up in here and 12 screws, and now I can't walk. And the Dutch have a word for this too, which is yeah, if you haven't heard that word, it's more of a life concept. You can hear it in different contexts and different times. You just missed the train. It's not the worst time to hear it, though. I think, one of the worst times to hear it is just before sex. Still better than hearing it after sex, as far as I remember. But yeah, I'm getting older. I'm 56 now. Thanks, appreciate that. There's nothing to cheer about. And yeah, I was trying to get in shape this year. Didn't work out, though. I mean, I'm in A shape, but it's the shape of pregnancy. Yeah, as life gives you changes. And when I was younger, I used to think my emoji was the rhinoceros. A little bit thick, but fast and strong. With a horn to be proud of. But now, as I've gotten older, I'm more of an elephant. Because I'm a little bit fatter and slower. My trunk's just dangling down. I used to think of him as Mr. Johnson, William Johnson. Willie to his friends. Now I realize that's not necessarily a name. It can also be a question. Willie? Willie! Yeah, so I'm not very religious. Certainly not anymore. They say God has a plan. God knows everything because God made everything, because God has a plan for everything. I don't like the plan. I mean, not now. But God knows that, right? And God made me say this because that fucking plan. I was baptized Greek Orthodox, I'm not very religious, but it's no real big deal. They put me in a bowl. The priest poured olive oil over me. Honestly, I could have been a salad. I'm not really religious, unless the guy's got a gun. I can be flexible. Just saying. Yeah, I was trying to get into my own business for a little while. This has become difficult for me because I was starting easy. I was stealing those walking sticks that the blind people use. Well, they never see it coming. And up till now, they're not going to come running after you. Not without the stick. And what are they going to do? Go to the police? Yeah, they got nothing. Without an eyewitness report? The problem is nowadays it's hard to sell those things because there's no one really looking for them. Appreciate that. You're like a pine stiller. which is a painkiller. Oxycontin, woo! So I was riding my bike the other day. All right, it was a couple months ago. And I was headed north through the polders. If you head out of the city, it's real nice. Suddenly you're in the countryside. It's a beautiful place. You know, it's beautiful farms out there. You know, they got all these like beautiful cows and such. They're so beautiful. They're like mooey. I thought you'd appreciate that one. Yeah, right? It's a really bad Dutch joke because mooey is pretty in Dutch. And when you're riding a bike out there, you get really bad thoughts. It's the Oxycontin. But Dutch has all these single word words. You know, they're like a one word kind of thing, like echt. And you can use echt in lots of ways. It took me a while to even understand half the echt sound. It means basically really. So like you say, like, you know, it's echt mooi, you know, if it's a really pretty cow. But what I don't get about the Dutch culture and Dutch women, having never actually dated one for various reasons. You can see them. When an American girl is mad at you, and I do have experience with this one, when they're really mad at you, they won't talk at all. But if they're just mad enough, they'll speak in one-word sentences. So how do you know when a Dutch girl is angry? Because you start in one-word sentences, right? I guess it's just the tone, you know? I was wondering if that would make any sense to anybody else, and sometimes you have to try these things, and if they work, you're happy, and if not, it's It's also Helas Pindakas, if that matters whatsoever. But, so again, as I'm a Greek American, and so again, I am an American, it's never a reaction. I keep hoping one of these days it'll change, but so far not yet. And, well, basically, I don't know if you have hope for the future. Yeah, me neither. But if you believe in anything, you should believe in, obviously, the politicians, because they've got our backs, right? It's the best place for them. But if you understand some of the originations of these words, politics, for example, a lot of people have hope and belief in it. But if you realize the origin of the word is a Greek word, and as any Greek man has to tell you a word is Greek, that's something we need to do with genetic. And politics comes from the Greek poly, which means many, and ticks, which is a blood-sucking parasite that spreads diseases. Politics. And of course, democracy itself is getting a bad name as well, which is really unfortunate, because democracy was a great idea. It started from demo, which is to try out, and krisi, which is Greek for wine. Because what the people wanted, they wanted some wine, they wanted a party. And that's why political parties are called parties. Because nobody parties like a Green Party parties. And the fact that nobody's ever cheered the Green Party once gives me great hope for the future. My name is Socrates, be safe on the scooters, etc. I'll see you next time.
Please give it all. First of all, for Kuria, who opened. Give it up for Kuria. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hey, Lachman, give it up.